Hello, this is JJ Humphrey. I'm with Bobby Cleveland. We got a special guest with us today. If we can keep him, we've been having a little technical problems. And so, Danny, it's sure good to have you with us. You still with us?
Yes, Representative Humphrey. I'm happy to be with you guys today.
Boy, it's awesome. We got a beautiful day. Before we start, I just want to give an update on Russell Fincher. He's the guy that ATF has been after. They actually are going to indict him tomorrow for selling ammunition to a felon. Guys, if you ever went and bought ammunition, nobody ever checks that. That's so bogus. It is unreal. They're trying to put a felony on him for selling ammunition. We got to stand up and do something. Today, though, we're going to be talking about a group that Danny's working with. I'm working with them as well, part of that group, and they're called Freedom First. So, Danny, can you tell us a little bit what started Freedom First? What's your ideals behind that? What you're trying to do?
I can do that, JJ. I served in the legislature 1988 through 1994, and I served under three different speakers during that period of time. When I came back, I left in 94, came back in 2020. There's a pretty good gap there of 26 years. When I came back, I come to find out that the whole process was being controlled by a handful of people. And it was like when I was on appropriations in the late 80s, early 90s, I participated, I was involved in it. Had a conversation yesterday with a guy that was on a subcommittee for 5 years. He said on appropriations, he said he knew the budget better than the executive director of the agency. But today, we don't get any interaction. We don't get any availability. And so we sit down. There was a group of five of us, you and I, JJ, Kevin West, David Harden, and Chris Sneed. We decided we needed to change the culture because all of us are elected the same way. 40,000 people send us to Oklahoma City. So we should have equal opportunity to influence the process. But it wasn't happening that way. And so we've gone through about a 1.5 to 2 year period here that we're working on how to bring that involvement back to the legislature and take it out of the hands of a few. I got a text this morning while I was in church that said there were 4 different individuals in the House of Representatives that have over $1 million in their campaign accounts. Speaker McCall, Chris Kennedy, Kevin Wallace all have $1.5 million in their campaign accounts, and Speaker Floor Leader Eccles has 1.2 million. That's, if I'm not wrong, it's about 4.2 or $3 million that 4 people have, and the rest of us, I know my account has got a few thousand in it. Yours got a few thousand, but it's not multiple over 100,000. So there's been a culture shift, and we're trying to take that shift and shift it back to what I consider to be normal.
Well, when you're talking about the budget, seeing the budget, I've only been up there 8 years, which is longer than a whole lot of people. But when I first got up there, we got a copy of the entire budget. And if you were on subcommittee budget, which I have been the entire time, then you got to look at that budget. You got to take it in, study it, make suggestions. You knew a whole lot about that if you wanted to. And today, we're only given the budget. If you're on subcommittee, you get to look at it, but you don't get a copy of it. You get to look at it. Well, guys, if you're looking at a budget that's, OSBI, OBN, DOC, OHP, you're looking every one of those. OHP's got a budget, several million. DOC's is $500 million or better. And you're supposed to look at that, and you're supposed to know what's going on. It's impossible to look at that in an hour or two and have any idea. So it's just gotten where we really don't have the openness, the transparency that we're wanting. And so it's a big, big deal. So, Danny, a group of us, like you said, started with an ideal, a concept of how to get that back. So can you explain, we've named that group Freedom First as part of that process, and can you tell me what you're trying to do with that?
Well, Speaker McCall terms out this year, and next November we'll have a new Speaker of the House. And the group that's there now that thinks that they have the advantage, they're pretty much the same group coming in as the group going out. Well, we want to change that culture. We're not mad at anybody. We're not trying to get rid of anybody. We've not campaigned against anybody. We just want to give the power and control back to the individual members and to the people of Oklahoma. And we're just playing it straight up. We're not doing anything behind the scenes. We've made no promises to anybody. We're just putting together a leadership group that says, okay, we're going to treat everybody equally, give everybody access. And I have served on 2 subcommittees of appropriations since I've been back, and neither one of those subcommittees have I had an opportunity to participate in. 30 years ago, for 4 years I was on it, and I was a major player in the influence of the budget process and got to sit in on all the hearings of the agencies. That doesn't happen today. We've got to change that. A group of us saying enough is enough. Tomorrow's going to be a better day.
Well, just so our listeners understand, when we're up there, just the process that we got to go through is that we have several things that we do. We have a bill that comes in, so all of us get a chance to, and we all have an opportunity to introduce 8 bills if you want to introduce 8 bills. And those bills get assigned to certain committees. And how they get assigned will mean whether they get to go or don't go. A lot of those bills are assigned just to kill them. And so I would say, I don't have any numbers, but Danny, Bob, you know quite a bit about this as well. You've been through the process. I would say over half of those bills probably just get assigned to kill them, maybe even more than half of those. Would y'all agree with that?
I agree with that.
Well, I can tell you when I first got out there, my first time to visit with introduce a bill and to talk to them about it, they said that they was going to change the title to it. It's fine. I don't care what you call it. And I didn't know they was meaning that we were going to kill it.
Yeah. You learn all that language.
I learned real quick.
Hey, they set mine to rules, which quite often rules is where you go to die. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, I went in there and old Josh Croftcoff was over the rules. And I said, hey, I'm new up here, Croftcoff. I said, help me understand something here. I said, this rules committee, is that where you go to send bills to die? And he said, that's pretty much it, JJ. And I said, well, is there some kind of little pig trail that I can take to get my bill out of there and sneak it back out? And he said, no pig trail. I said, but he didn't quite tell me there is a pig trail. You can sneak those things back out if you can, if they'll let you. But that's what we're talking about, is that all of these bills go to die over here, or they get put in certain places where they'll die. And again, nobody gets to see what's actually. So, Danny, one of the things we're talking about is trying to have more transparency where we don't get this, well, that bill didn't get passed, or because we've got some bills that, man, just, whether they're abortion bills, whether they're drag queen bills, whether they're take porno out of school bills, whether they're, to try to attack some of the DEI or the wokeism or some of this school business. A lot of these bills never see the light of day, and people are interested in it. There's people ought to know the state of Oklahoma sent us up there. They ought to get to see what is and who voted what. There ought to be transparency. Who's voting what? Who's killing what? How did that happen? And that's one of the things that you're trying to bring back, right?
Oh, that's
we are trying.
right.
I'll take credit for it too. We're trying.
Oh yeah, you're right. You've been JJ. You've been involved with us from the beginning. We had 5 people that started out, and now our numbers have grown exponentially. I'm not going to tell everybody what the numbers are because we don't want the enemy to know. But we have done some great things about addressing structure of the House of Representatives, structure of the caucus, and empowering people. Let them participate. Let them bring their ideas to the table, and let's discuss them or debate them or whatever we want to. But let's give everybody a hearing and not be manipulated. I had two bills last year. That one of them was the Parental Bill of Rights. Now, who do you know that would be against the Parental Bill of Rights? Then I had another bill, the Disadvantaged Child, which I was trying to help children that were disadvantaged in Oklahoma, and some of them had to go into foster homes. Well, I got the same thing on it. And I went to the chairman. I said, Chairman, what's the problem? He said, well, I don't like your bills. I said, what do you don't like about them? And he told me, I said, well, I'll make modification. I can address that. So I got the changes done and went back to him, and he said, no, I just don't like your bill. So it was like there's no explanation, no reason, and no opportunity. And it's like, that's not right. He doesn't have any more leverage up there from his people than I do. And we should get to that place. We're not there now.
No, we're definitely not there. And again, I think the state of Oklahoma deserves being able to see what is introduced and how that got killed and what process that happened in. Right now, there's a lot of things not happening that, again, I understand that. I think there's a fine line between whether chairman should be able to kill a bill, not kill a bill. You know, we probably can't have every bill run. So we have to be extremely smart how we come up with the process to vet bills and to continue to show those to the public. But the bottom line, the public is who elects us, and the public should know exactly what's happening with the bill, whether it was intended or not intended to go, or whether it's intended to be killed, and who actually killed that bill. And so, again, I think that's important. A while ago, Danny, you was talking about how much money that 3 or 4 people in the House had. How does those 3 or 4 end up with that much money, and the rest of us end up with those Nancy Pelosi crumbs? I'd take a Nancy Pelosi crumb. I can't even hardly get a crumb half the time, you know.
Well, the thing about it is the whole system up there is shifted to power and money, and all the money goes to the influential people, so they control the money, and they also control the process. So it wasn't that way 30 years ago when I was in the House. I could go to different people and raise money. Today, you can't do that. They won't even listen to you. And I contacted, I'm asking, and I've never heard so many excuses in the world as, well, I don't know if I can do that, or I don't know if I should do that. It's like, what does that mean? It just means that.
Danny, just so everybody understands, so you're saying those 3 or 4 people basically control whether something goes, where it goes, whether it gets passed, whether it doesn't get passed. So all of these lobbyists, back when Bob was there, when I started there, they had to kind of work every one of us, and so they donated money to each one of us. Now they don't even care to talk to you. Of course, I make a lot of people mad, so I don't know whether it's just because I'm kind of abrasive and rub people wrong, or whether it's that way for everybody. But when I got up there, I could easily, and you'd think the longer you be there, the more money you could raise. Instead, when I first got up there, hey, they come along, give you $250 here, $250 there. I never raised hundreds of thousands, but I always had, 8,000-10,000 in there. That was okay. I was fine with that. I've got probably 6 in there right now, 6 or 7, something like that. I've got some guarantees for a little bit more, but again, those aren't coming from lobbyists. Really, these are coming from people I work hard for, different groups out here that are for the public, and so I'm getting supported by them. But I'm not. To my knowledge, I don't even know if a lobbyist group has given me any money this year.
One thing that talking about bills that I've always had a problem with was that agency head. If it has to do with that, some agency the agency head can go to the person who is in charge of the budget, and they can go in there and talk to him and ask him to kill the bill that they don't like it, and they kill it. They don't come back and talk to you, the rep who introduced the bill, that knows about the bill. They go in there and basically they don't tell the truth, and they get your bill killed before you don't even know it. Now I have a problem with that.
Absolutely. The agencies, and Bob, if you look at the deep state, what we call the deep state, and everybody thinks CIA, DOJ, FBI, but the deep state is all of these, the military, all of these agencies. And here in Oklahoma, the deep state is DHS, DOC, all these agencies, mental health, all of these agencies that control these massive budgets. And again, their whole purpose is their kingdom just to get more and more and more money. And again, somebody comes walking in and saying, what about accountability? Where's this money at? Bob, you know this. If you pay somebody 100 or 100 employees and they only have 50 employees, where's the rest of that money? Me and you have exposed that in the Department of Corrections for the last, 4 years? Where's the money for 4 years of half the people in the budget? We keep calling it out, but guess what? There's no accountability, no nothing. And they just go right around to the budget people and go, bam, there you go. Which I will say now, I do want to say Kevin Wallace has worked with me on some of that budget. So I do want to give Wallace credit for working with me on some of that. He helped us get a $43 million raise without one dime going extra to their budget or to the taxes. So that's pretty significant. But that's what we're talking about, ain't it, Danny?
Well,
go ahead.
I'm gonna butt in here so I can say something.
Jump on in.
If I don't just butt in, I'll just be like, oh, what was that guy's name in the military that went back? He's sitting there like a stump. Never mind. I forgot what I was going to say.
Bob, you're killing me. Killing me. But yeah, Danny, that's what we're talking about too, is in this budget process and in the money, in the collecting money. Again, we have to make sure that comes in for all of the people. That should come in. We should have an elected group or at least two from each class to help decide where that money to equal out that money and make it a balance where two or three doesn't control the whole deal.
Well, and that's the point. And the guy I was talking to that had served as majority floor leader, speaker pro tem, but he was also 5 years on the same subcommittee on appropriations. And he said he knew those budgets because he had worked on them. Today, we don't even have a chance to look at them, much less work on them. So we can't know. And that's just not appropriate, in my opinion. I think we ought to open the process, make it transparent, hold it up to the light, and see it. I was with Senator Thompson the other day on working on a project in an area that we share, and he said that next year that he was going to, on Wednesday, every Wednesday, have the budget out. People come in, look at it, ask whatever questions they had, do whatever. And he said, we're going to make the budget available to the Oklahoma State Senate. Well,
now, when Representative Sears was over the budget, he did that. We had a meeting once a week. We could go in there and talk about the budget and go through the budget. And sometimes I think it was like 7:30. But Sears was pretty open on the budget.
Bob, he even handed out. It wasn't the entire. I don't think it's the entire, but he had a pretty good deal where you could go in there and if you want to look at highways and what money was available, if there's
he'd see you anytime and talk to you about
it. It was, hey, I knew, if I'm looking, I need $250,000 down here. Okay, y'all got this 10 million over here. How do I get 250,000 of it? Guess what? I could go in there and see. I could see where some was hit out. Hey, I need it over here. You could go in there, and it was hard to get from them. Now, I will tell you this. You had to wake up and eat your Wheaties to get $1 from them, but you at least knew. And then when they said, oh, there's not $1, bull crap, I got it right here. Well, we done promised that. Nope, you ain't promised all of it. Give me some. that's the way you could, work it out. Today, guess what? I have no idea. You don't have any idea where any money is, what's extra, what's available, as well as Daddy. You were talking a while ago about those poor people having those massive amounts. Why is that so important? Can you explain to our listeners why that's important and how that affects us as a state and how that affects the House?
Well, part of the challenge is with them having that much control and that much money is that then the all the cards are in their favor. So those of us that are the rank and file, if they're going to support us, they say, well, this is what we need from you. Well, what happens is they control you with the money. They shouldn't control anybody with the money. Good ideas, debate, discussion, and vetting ought to decide the process, not the money. And so when people have that kind of money, they have undue influence. And when we don't have any money, we're in a very susceptible position. So we've got to change that. And one of the things that we've talked about is that, especially in the caucus fundraising for our caucus PAC, is that we have a group of people that will serve on a board and distribute those money to members and do that in that capacity so that there's fairness and equity and not just control by a handful of people, because we all know that money is where the power is. And if you've got the money, you've got the power, and we've got to distribute that. So,
Danny, for our listeners who may not understand everything that we're talking about here, so basically, if we got an election and we got an open seat coming up, these guys who have millions of dollars can go out and pick who they want to run, and they're going to give them money, and those people are indebted to those people who fund their campaign. And so when they get to the Capitol, guess who they answer to? They're not going to answer to the people. They're going to answer to the few that got them elected and got them that money. And that's what you see is you see these groups come up here and they are 100% in that corner, and they're total yes people. They're not independent thinkers who say, okay, I agree with this or don't agree with this or go outside, especially when it's on a key vote. You don't see very many people willing to stand up on a key vote and say no to leadership, because if you do that, then guess what? You're not going to get very much. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be kicked out. You're not going to be anything up there. So you're going to lose all your stroke, and it's difficult to do. And so that's why when we're saying all this money comes in to these 4 or 5, it makes it extremely difficult, unfair to do. And so again, those are big issues. And the other issue is, I think the first year I was up there, boy, we had and Bob will remember this. First year we were up there, we had a $1 billion shortfall. We had $1 billion we were short. And we have a budget to where you have to pass a balanced budget. You can't borrow. So we had to do something. You couldn't just kick the ball down the road a little bit like they do up there in the feds. We had to settle it. And so again, it was a massive fight. And I was in that. There was 18 of us that wouldn't vote with them. And boy, we got lit up. We got our little group, they called us the Patriot Group. And anyways, at the very end of that, I did come along and vote for it because my district did get to the place where that's what they wanted. I'm there to represent the district. I did vote for that. Several did not. I think, Bob, you said you didn't vote for it, did you?
Nope.
So again, you're my hero, Bob. Anyways, they targeted, and Bob, I think some money got spent against you, didn't it?
I don't know. My deal was a little bit different than the other guys that got beat. I had, when my wife got sick and I had to go be with her, I couldn't do anything. Now the teachers were all, they were after me,
right,
trying to get me. In fact, it's funny how how it changed in a few years, because then they come back and ask me to run against the present
Right.
representative. But so mine was just a little bit different because they were every, but I only ended up losing, I think, about 51 votes. But I didn't campaign at all there at the last part because I couldn't.
Right. Yeah, your wife was sick, and that's understandable. It's definitely, but there
And
was
really, but I couldn't have even if I had got elected, I couldn't have went to half of the meetings. So I didn't feel I wasn't upset about that I lost. You know what? This God's got a plan, and but it's more important for me to be with her than it is go up there at the house.
right.
And
But
I couldn't.
they took
But I
out.
couldn't. I mean, I couldn't be a representative myself, knowingly I'm not there enough very much. There has some people have done it, and just didn't bother them, but it would bother me because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it wholeheartedly.
But they took out 14 for sure
Yeah.
with all that money. I mean, and I know that because they were some.
Oh,
Good,
they lied about them, sent stuff out. They're just a flat out lie. And
so
by the way, what was the representative's name from Bartlesville?
Travis
What is it?
Dunlap, I think. Was
Dunlap. Well, you know what? I found out about Dunlap. He's over in Israel. He's stuck over in Israel.
Wow. Yeah. You know, he was always in ministry stuff. Could play the
Well, he's
piano.
a good Christian guy, but we need to remember him in our prayers
Right.
because he's in a very dangerous place.
But that's the thing. Old Travis is conservative, part of that group. Again, they lined up and used massive amount of money, Republican money. In fact, they've lost a lawsuit on that. I think from ethics went after them. But here's the deal: look at all the money they spent, and they get fined $40,000. That's a massive. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That means nothing, and you're taking out 14 of your own people. And if the Republican Party would go after their own, and that they would go after the conservatives, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things I'm hearing in all of this, Danny, is that we're too conservative. That's a big issue that some of the people in.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, part of the problem is the elected elite and a lot of the business lobbyist people are not as conservative as the Oklahoma people. But I would say that I pretty much reflect the values in my district. JJ, I think you reflect the values in your district. But there's a group that wants to control what we're going to do, and they do not want us to have influence. They want to do it their way, which is better for their side of things. And they don't want the conservative approach, which is responsibility and openness and transparency and making sure it makes sense before we do anything. But there are a lot of people that don't feel that way. So they're claiming some of us are too conservative. I would say they're too liberal.
Well, here's the deal. I think you have to you were elected to represent your district. And that's right. Kind of how I went up there, and I was no on all those tax deals. Absolutely not. No, caught some. I mean, you talk about catch some heat now. Catch some heat. The governor come pull me off the floor. JJ, we got to have you vote. I said, go. As old Mary, I said, Mary, you know I love you. You know I love you. But I just can't vote with you. And boy, she come got me again. JJ, we got to have you. I'm like, Mary, do you not hear? Let me explain. No, heck no, And so I caught some massive heat. I stood by, but again, there was a place where my district, and I didn't go out and do anybody else's poll. That was JJ Humphrey poll, running to the district, talking to people, talking to everybody, talking to state employees, teachers, bankers, business people, all of them. What do you want? And when that number got pretty high up there, where I knew that the majority of our district, now the really, really conservative people was a little mad at me. But again, I will tell you this, I'm 100% convinced had I not voted the way I did, I would not represent that district. I probably wouldn't be back up here. So again, you represent the district that sent you. You need to know your district, but you have to be able to have a voice to represent them. And right now, that's what we're fighting. And again, we're not opposed to anybody. This is not a kick anybody down. I like very much the speaker. Me and him are from the same hometown. I very much appreciate him. I know that it's tough to try to represent the entire state, and that that people feel like, well, we got to get all inclusive. I'm not all inclusive. You know what I'm saying? I want to represent the majority, but there's things I'm gonna tell you that if my district and guys, y'all back me up here how y'all are, but if my district wanted me to vote to legalize abortion, they'd need to send me home. If my district wants me to say that I want to take guns away, they need to send me home. I'm going to fight for your Second Amendment rights. I'm going to fight to not to kill an unborn child. I'm going to fight against the alphabet mafia, the LGBTQ plus 2 plus 5, whatever they are. I'm going to fight against transgender, DEI, all of those things. And if that's
well, I can tell you on my side, from me when I was in the House, Charles McCall never lied to me, never misrepresented something. He told me just how it was. Either it was there or not there. And I think a lot of Charles. He's always, if I went there for a bill, find out why I wasn't getting heard, he'd tell me and we'd get it heard. But I really find it hard to figure out here because I must think the world of Charles, but I don't know how this other stuff like you're talking about going on, how it could be going on.
Well, I like Charles, but I just don't agree. And here's the deal. I backed him. I would oppose him. And again, he's gone. I've never opposed Charles in any election. I live down here with him. He helps me in lots of ways when I need help with the EPA or one of those DEQ or something. Man, he's awesome. He's good for our part of the country on stuff like that. No question about it. But again, when he's leaving, I have issue, and I do have an issue because he's micro. You got to give him credit, man. He's managed to control everything. He does manage it. That's not taken away from him. That's actually bragging on his ability. I just disagree with that it should be controlled on that level. I think it should be much more transparent. I think the people of the state of Oklahoma should get to see every bit. I think the money should be handed out amongst and equally divided, and not one group control it, because when one group controls it, they control everything. They elect who they want. They do who they want. Everybody answers. And if that's what you want, then guess what? Doing an awesome, great job. I just don't think that that's good for the state of Oklahoma, personally, me.
Well, when you're up there, you find out that people don't always tell you the truth.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can't trust what they say. And it's a shame that way. But I can tell you from my side of it, Charles McCall never did one doggone thing that to me that didn't happen. He said yes, he did. It happened. He said no, but he explained to me, and we talked about it. But I'd vote for him and go out and work my butt off for him to be governor. But
well, Bob, I'm not saying that I wouldn't. In fact, I actually had a conversation with him along that line yesterday, not last year, yesterday, trying to see who I am going to back and what, see if he's going to be in there. So this is not, we started by saying this is not a bash Charles McCall. This is not against Charles. Charles is leaving. He's not going to be in there. This is about the opportunity to change what's being, and again, I'll brag on Charles. If you want to control this stuff, and he does, and I can't say that there's anybody been there longer, done a better job of being able to control everything and being able to get his will passed on that. That's impressive. I'm not unimpressed by that. I just don't agree with that. I think that it's become where 2 or 3 people are controlling that. And anytime you give control to 2 or 3 people, then again, if you got a good guy, okay, that works great. But if you get a not so good guy, guess what? And again, to get stuff passed, I will tell you this right now. Every bill that I file is pretty much the way I look at it. Every bill is just like dead. I got to hustle. I got to move things around. That's the way I feel all the time. To get something done, I got to work 10 times harder than half the people up there to get stuff done. Fortunately, I don't mind that. But again, this is a great opportunity to change. This is the time if we're going to see change.
Well, it's not right what you guys are talking about. You know, when you go and you guys will, you can agree with me or not agree with me, but when you get elected, you go up there, you're going to introduce this bill for this, you're going to get this passed. I mean, you're so excited that you're going to do all these things that all of a sudden you find out, wow, it don't work that way.
No, and again, you can't have 3,000 or 4,000 bills get passed. There's got to be a process, right. But there ought to be transparency in that process, and there shouldn't be 2 or 3 people controlling every angle of that. There should be a more open process. And the money is how that gets controlled a lot. Would you not agree, Danny? It's the money that controls all of that. And that's what we're trying to do is move that money where more people have, and to where more people can have access to that.
Well, it looks like to me that's your lobbyist.
No, it's not lobbyists. If lobbyists are smart enough to go to the 3, if you only need 3 people to pass the bill, why would you go out there and give it to 100-something people or 80-something people? Why not just go do the 3? And that's what's happening. That's why you got 3 with $1 million or 4 with $1 million in there, and the rest of us sucking hind tit. That's what's going on. Am I right, Danny?
Oh, you're right. You're right. The problem is when you put power and money in front of people, there's such a tremendous temptation to let that thought process control you. And, we're in term limits. We should be rolling people through every 4 years to different jobs, not let somebody get a job in their clutches where they control it, don't let anybody else in. It's just a cultural awareness and a diversity of the way that we make decisions so that when it comes time, JJ, I know, our colleagues, 99 of the colleagues will know, so that the decision we make is a good decision for our people. And we can have disagreement on what's good and what's not, but at the same time, we have to answer our people. That's who really drives our votes.
That's who we should answer to. That's who should drive our votes. Absolutely. It shouldn't be lobbyists. It should not be corporate. And again, when you make it all about the money, then what begins to drive that is lobbyists and corporate and all of that drives the money. And that's what we're trying to bust up, is to bust that up to where they have to come to each and every one of us. They have to give money across the board. And again, where people can say, hey, no, because I have no problem telling lobbyists I probably won't get much lobbyist money, even if they do bust this up. It's not going to have that much effect on me. Again, if Charles runs for governor, I can almost guarantee you, I don't want to make guarantees before you go out, but I'd be shocked if that's not who I'm going to probably be with. I mean, that's our Southeastern guy. I've known him forever. I've got access to him. So this is not, I will make certain everybody understands this is not about Charles McCall. This is about the way that our process has been set up. This is about corporate lobbyists controlling everything. This is how to be more even and equal with bills, more even and equal with money, to make sure that the people of the state of Oklahoma have better representation and can see what's going on. And that's the point that I believe. Again, I don't want a cake. So what's going on right now? They've already made up their mind who's going to be elected. They go over and anoint him king before the election even happens. And again, I like the person. Let's just say it's Kyle Hilburn. I love Kyle Hilburn. I think he's a good young man. You won't find any better out there. I've told him that. I don't say stuff that I don't mean. So if I tell somebody I like somebody, you can take her to the bank. I like him. But at the same time, should he just be anointed? You're going to get it. That's it. End of discussion. The rest of you slobs line up and vote how we tell you. And if you want any money, you better kick in and you better walk the line. Guess what? I'm not a person. I'm a kind of out of the box, blow the box up and pee on it. It's kind of where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care. I'm a little radical. I understand that. You know what I mean? But some people don't. Some people lack the ability to stand up against that, and that's what we're trying to do. Hey, Danny, before I don't know what kind of time we've had a pretty good discussion here. I've lost track of time. We still got 15 minutes. Danny, can you explain dark money? So some of this is about dark money. Can you explain to our listeners how dark money affects what we're talking about?
Well, the federal government provided a way where people, if they developed a 501c4, that people could contribute without having to be disclosed that they are contributing. And it started initially by people that were wanting to affect the lives of others and didn't want anybody to know about it. So they gathered this money up to defeat people or change the culture or change the elected official. That's how it got started. And there's just been billions of dollars since 2010 when that Supreme Court ruling, I believe, came down. There's been billions of dollars that have gone into that. Well, I don't believe in dark money, but I believe they've set up a process to where if we don't do some of that to try to help maintain our conservative members, most of the time dark money goes to the negative side of things. We can also, though, be very proactive and positive to support people that are good in that process. So dark money has been a problem over the years, but it's legal. We may not like it. I don't think we can change it. So we have to manage it. But I would say that we need to probably look a little more closely at it and make sure that it's not being used and being leveraged and manipulated for the wrong purpose.
So if I wanted to give money to a candidate, I could give money to the dark money?
To the PAC, not to the...
I'm sorry, to the PAC. I would give my money to the PAC, and then they would pass it on to the person, which they can't do it. You know, me, I can't say, hey, I'm going to give you this money, but I want it to go so-and-so. Yeah, I know you can't do that.
No.
So, but there's no way of knowing who donated the money, who's contributing to that candidate?
Right now, there's no disclosure responsibility at all in this. There again, that came down from the federal level.
That's what makes people mad.
Well, and here's the problem. You know, there's an old saying that you fight fire with fire. And that's the problem. If you're going to go out there and compete against people who can raise millions and millions of dollars and not self-report and not tell anybody where it comes from, and then you're supposed to go out and compete with that, oh, I don't want to do that because that just ain't right. I'm the first one. It is wrong. Everybody should be able to see where that money's coming from, who's backing that. I'll be the first one to say absolutely. I'll pass. You know, I got no problem introducing a bill saying federal government may say something, but we're not going to allow it in Oklahoma. I think I may try to run that bill. We're not going to allow it in Oklahoma. If you're going to be an Oklahoma politician, you can't do it. And so
I want to make sure that I fully understand this because I had never heard of the, what was it, a
501c4.
C4. If they've done that, they're following the law. They're not breaking the law or anything of that nature. And that's the way they're funneling money to candidates, and they don't have to say where the money came from. So I want to make sure that I get that correct.
Well, Bob, that's the way Soros and all of these big groups that are trying to control the DAs and to get all these DAs elected, they funnel massive money in here, dark money. And again, the Republican Party takes as much of it as anybody else. It is going on, and it is going to certain individuals, and certain individuals are using that money. And when you start trying to track where these groups come from, I could name you two groups that I looked at, massive amount of money. You track them back. Their treasurer is in Alexandria, Virginia. There was one in Ohio. I think maybe one Tennessee. I can't remember. I looked at 3 or 4 different packs, and they had somewhere. And if I remember, a couple of them was the same guy. It's amazing. Same guy. Treasure was in Alexandria, and I think maybe Ohio. I'd have to go back and look. But wow, all this money, and we're talking a lot of money coming in here, going pretty much the same place. Boom, going boom, 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 and going against one candidate. And
well, when you're running for office and you've never run for office before, you have no idea what goes on. You have no idea how to raise money, and you get some money spent on you. You're going to be relying on those people for advice.
The first time that I ran, there right before the election, I think it's on the Friday before the election. Election's like on Tuesday. They come out with a really, really massive card against me. JJ Humphrey beats women, had this woman on the front crying and all this. And JJ got charged with this. And here's the deal. When I was a law enforcement officer, I did have a person file a protective order, said I hit her in the arm. The judge dismissed it, said it was the stupidest thing that he ever seen filed. His own record, dismissed, stupid. Yet they went in there knowing that's a lie, took that, ran it where you don't have time to respond to it. Fortunately, people were sick of that. It actually worked out to my favor, I think. But the thing about it is they spent $40,000, if I remember, on that one card. And that was 8 years ago. Can you imagine? I was trying to
guys that got beat to what was it 4 years ago that were getting every month, every day, every week, every day they was getting another card of negativity, and they was just a lie.
Clay Stairs, one of the guys that is in a house right now. I watched a video he put out. Boy, he did a good job combating it when they're spending that much money against him. He got those flyers, those cards that they were sending out. Guys, that cost about $10,000 per card to send out to a house district, roughly, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And he got 28 of them. He spread them out over his counter. He folded, he fanned a bunch of them, and he made a little video, who's putting these out. And he showed where he tracked some of them down. And hey, you can't get past this place, and it's out of state, and all this out of state money coming in to fight me. And I forget, I think he's in Sand Springs or somewhere like that, where he's from, if I remember correctly. Good guy.
Well, JJ, I think on your deal that they were trying to get Bigfoot elected and get you out of there.
That old boy that was against me got a pretty big foot. He does have big foot. But the thing about it is, I tracked that down. And here's what's funny. When you look at these, it was Red Dirt, Oklahoma. Well, now, if you're an old cowboy person, you think Red Dirt, Oklahoma, that'd be a pretty good group. Well, then you look and guess what?
They still have that now?
I don't know. I just stayed back in. Oh. I looked them up, and there's Red Dirt, and I think that was the one pushing the homosexual. No, that was one pushing anti-guns. They were opposed to your Second Amendment. And then Freedom, Oklahoma was one pushing the homosexual movement. And they had targeted me because they didn't think that I'd be for them. They thought I'd be against them. And I will say they were right on that. They were 100% right, knowing that I would not transform to their transgender agenda, So, but that's the stuff that we're talking about, right, Danny? This is what we're trying to expose. This is what we're trying to come out with. And we've got a pretty good group. So right now, kind of tell us where you are in the whole process, Dan.
Well, I think we're coming down to the cutting point where, you either have to get in or get out. And we're at a place right now where we have to do something to help protect our conservative members in the House. If we don't do that, then the same thing that happened in 2018 will happen again in 2024. We cannot afford that. Oklahomans are conservatives. Oklahomans are God-fearing people, and that's who we represent. And there's a whole a group of people that are trying to distort that message and accuse people of not being good people or being relevant in today's time. So we've got to do everything we can. JJ, we serve with some great people that give you the shirt off their back, walk the extra mile, give you the coat. If you need a cloak, they give you the cloak too. Those are the kind of people we've got to make sure that gets to keep their position there, because the ones that are distracted by the money and power, they're never going to do the things the way that is right and wholesome. So we've got to do our job in protecting. And our numbers have grown, and we've raised some money, and we're looking forward to tomorrow's going to be a better day, and we're going to continue to work and accomplish those things which I believe the people of this great state want us to do.
Danny, I saw the other day that new speaker up there from Louisiana, old Johnson, up there at the Congress. What they put on him was that he was too Christian. He was too Christian. He shouldn't be in there because he's too Christian. And I thought, boy, you know what? I wish somebody accused me of that. I'd like him. Boy, I'd be proud to be accused of that. And one of the things that we get accused of being too conservative. And you know what? It's quite funny. I get quite often, I got people saying I ain't conservative enough. That's usually Bobby Cleveland that says that. But quite often Bob's calling me a liberal, and then other people are calling me too conservative. I just get tickled. And you know what? Here's where I'm going to be at. I said a while ago, hey, I'm going to fight against abortion. I'm going to fight to defend your Second Amendment rights. I'm going to fight against the woke agenda. I'm going to fight against the homosexual agenda that's being tried to push, transgender. I am going to fight to wisely try to cut taxes and more to try to cut regulations. People don't talk about that. How about we cut regulations? Before taxes, if we go cut regulations, guess what? We're going to open up business and we're going to free the people of the state of Oklahoma. We look like California on regulations. We need to have a conversation on that. But again, I want people to see what I'm doing. I don't want to do it in the dark. I want people, if you're going to call me something, tell me why. Tell me what I voted for and tell me why that I'm not conservative, because I just named the whole Republican platform and I'm fighting for that. So that sounds pretty conservative. And if you're going to call me anything, I hope you call me too Christian and too conservative. I know I talk rough. So
I want to kind of do a takeoff on your regulations. I have a person that goes to the same church I do, and she had a little trouble on income tax back in 2010 and 2022. Well, she was a licensed practical nurse. They clipped her license because the state law changed. She lost her license, her ability to make a living. And so last year, we passed legislation last spring that said you can't keep a person's license from them if they're doing anything in the trades because of not payment of income tax. So the law went into effect November 1st. And I have called the tax commission, called the board of nursing. They're still not letting those people go free and be restored to their ability to do what our state law said they had to do. They put roadblock and difficulties in front of them. We've got to eliminate that process when we in the legislature decide a policy that says we're helping people, we're reducing this regulation. We cannot allow agencies of government to hold on to them and complicate their lives. We've got a lot of work to do in that area, Jay.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, what you have though, when you pass these bills, I found this out the hard way. You don't put anything in there to take care of it. It's just like speeding. You go too fast and you get a fine, but we don't put any consequences in if they don't follow it.
Yeah, we got to start doing that. One thing I was going to mention, if you don't pay your toll fee, so they videotape toll. You go through this toll. Well, they don't know whether it's you or whether you loaned your car to somebody. And then if you don't pay that, you go down there and try to get you a tag. Well, guess what? You're going to violate the law. We're going to hold you, hostage until you pay this, even though it may not have been you. And that's called without due process. So they're charging you for a fine, and they're giving you no due process, which is illegal. Then they're withholding your tag, and then again, they're forcing you to become illegal. And so you're going to get more fines based on that. And it is wrong. That's the kind of bullcrap we have to change. And that's what this is all about. So, hey,
answer a question for me. I had an officer got in trouble for DUI. He got a DUI, spent the night in jail, but he hasn't been charged. I mean, he hadn't gone to court on it. How does this work? He's not guilty until he goes to court, right?
Bob, they can suspend him. They can suspend him without pay. They can suspend him without pay. They can suspend him. They can let him work for a period of time. Again, a lot of times your driver's license are pulled, so you would have a hard time if you're in a driving capacity. And so, again, they can do all that, but they can't take his job until he is convicted. So they cannot take his job away until he is convicted.
Hey, JJ, I got something here I think you need to be aware of. It's just hot, right off the press, JJ.
Throw it on me. JJ Humphrey wins $1 million.
A neighborhood alert. We got a neighborhood alert. Roosters. I have 13 roosters in my yard. Someone please come and get them. So you need to run down here and get them dadgum roosters.
No, in y'all's neighborhood, that'd get you. They charged a couple for having 59 chickens, not fighting them, 59 chickens, 10 years per chicken, 590 years apiece. You get heroin, nothing. Have a chicken, 590 years. I'd be careful about picking them chickens up. I'd have to pick them up anonymously, Bob. I'd be scared in your neighborhood. But, hey, that's going to be the end of the day. Danny, I appreciate you coming. I think this is an important subject that we have to talk about, make people aware of. We do want to end by saying this is not opposing anybody. We waited until that basically this was going to be an open seat. And what we feel like, we didn't oppose anybody. We didn't fight anybody. We never come out negative. We have said we love everyone. Love everybody. Bobby, now he comes off a little bit hostile towards some individuals, but not me and Danny. We're full of love. So basically, we just want people to know what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that the money gets equally spent and comes out equal to make fairness. We want to do transparency. We want to make fairness on bills to where not one or two people control it. We want to take away the control from the corporate and lobbyists, and we want to return it to the people of the state of Oklahoma so that they can see exactly what's being done and who's voting for what and who stands up for what, and that can end all the problems that we see. So that's our goal. Our hearts are right. I think we're winning support, and I think we're going to go forward, pick us a person to be over that, and once we do, then we're going to be able to see if we're going to be successful. It's going to be a dogfight. It ain't going to be easy. It's going to be pretty close. Thing that we request, if you want to donate to that, it's Freedom First, and we'll take your prayers as well. So with that, guys, either one of you want to say anything before we check out of here?
Well, I appreciate Danny coming on and both of you guys for explaining this, because some of this stuff I didn't really understand, and we didn't have it when I was in the office, but right. It is a concern.